Welcome to a brand new episode of How Many Games for £10? That's current gen games, that is. I was going to do a PS4 game challenge, but it turned out there were actually some cheaper Xbox One titles that I could merge into this challenge, and I am very happy with the results. Now, if you're new here, I'm on a playlist called the £5 CEX Retro Game Challenge, in which I buy as many retro games as I can for the sum of £5, which is close to $6 US. In this episode, we're flipping it to current gen, and you good guys voted in the last episode by reaching the like hike challenge. I think it was like 350 likes or something to that effect. So, in this video, we're going to be taking a look around the CEX. We're going to look at some cheap current gen games and how you can also acquire them very cheaply for an astonishing price. I'm really happy with it. So let's sit back, enjoy the video, and we'll roll the footage. Cheeky little question, but when did Sega Dreamcast consoles become so expensive? And we're now diving down into the meat and bones of this delightful episode as I'm scouring the PlayStation 4 games, and I'll be honest with you lovely folk, it's been a while since I've spent this much time looking at PS4 games in CEX, because every time I come in here, I'm either on the PS3 or Xbox 360 or Nintendo Wii and such like, but it was quite refreshing and I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Genuinely, hands down, loved it. And I'm praying we get the 500 likes, which will activate part 2, I guess, as part of the kind of video game challenge series. Now, I mentioned in the intro that there were some jolly good Xbox One games, and we take a brief look, but there was one particular title that caught my eye for a flipping bargain price. And saying that, there were some really good bargains. I was genuinely surprised at the amount of games in here that were £5, and there were really good titles, and there were so many different combinations of how I could have achieved the £10 game challenge. So you could probably play along at home if you want to timestamp what you would have picked up within the £10 budget. Go ahead and let's see what you would have done. Have a question for my North American viewers and maybe my Australian viewers as well. I see a lot of comments that say, I wish my game stores were like this in the UK, and it kind of makes me wonder, like, what do you guys have? I mean, I know the US and Canada have GameStop, and I know that I think it's EB Games are in Australia, but do you not have stores like CEX where you can go in and just basically pick through thousands and thousands of video games, retro, all the way through to kind of your current gen stuff like we're looking at here? So please let me know. That's a genuine interest of mine. When I went to the US, I only really saw like GameStop, which tended to be a little bit thin on the ground with like its games what were in there anyway. So who knows, things may have changed a little bit since I last went. Now, we're on the delightful Xbox One games, and you saw me a couple of seconds ago pick up Project Cars. Project Cars for $3.50 now. I've never played it. And Rise there at £5. That was a launch title for the Xbox One. So some really fruity and juicy video games in here. And I hope you can hear the passion in my voice. I'm looking back through this now as I'm editing it, and I'm like, yes, this was wicked. Now, kind of thought, and you've already heard me mention, should we start to sell the games that we get in a future £10 game challenge? And like I said, we can recycle back in. 500 likes, we'll do an episode 2, and I will do that. So it means that I will be acquiring some doubles, but nonetheless, maybe we'll be able to kind of flip them and sell them and put it back into the £5 and hopefully the £10 video game challenge. So So Deformers here looks like a really fun game, but I kind of question myself on whether or not I'd actually play it, because I don't just want to do these challenges for the sake of having shelf fillers. I genuinely want to play the games that I find, unless we do the kind of thing where we sell them and flip it back into the playlist. So that's why I kind of put Deformers back, but I thought it was an interesting title for £8, and I'm absolutely confident that my viewers will tell me if it's a good game or just a terrible game, and glad I really left it. Blair Witch, great game, little bit confusing in places, but it's actually quite a good title. I'm surprised it's only £20. I mean, I'm sure there'll be somebody that points out that you can get it for much cheaper on Amazon, and yeah, you probably can, just like you can get this particular game, Fade to Silence, which was £20. I was like, yo, that's intriguing. That could be a good stream. But then I kind of checked reviews and it just looked absolutely diabolical. But I will say that Fade to Silence was going for £20 brand new online. So sometimes, especially with the current gen stuff, you've got to be very careful, because some of the newer titles, some of the newer games are well overpriced. So I would say, as a little tip, if you're going into CEX and you want to do this challenge, just be mindful that the newer the game, the kind of more you're probably going to get ripped off. So it's always good just to kind of scan in the barcode to an online store and give it a double check somewhere. Now, the order at £6, in my opinion, it's not worth £6. The Order 1886 was poised to be one of those fantastic and enriching video games that would have helped prop up the PS4's legacy even more, but it turned out to be an absolute flop, and I was one of the silly sausages that paid for the collector's edition brand new, and I think I've literally played it for about 3 hours and I've never picked it up since. So, bit of a shame, but I like to kind of give the underdogs a chance. And speaking of underdogs, Thief on the PS4. I absolutely adored that game, and it was I think it was a £5 or £6 in here, and I own it, so that's why I didn't buy it. But if you're looking for something really cheap, I would recommend that you give Thief a go on the PlayStation 4, because I had an absolute barrel of laughter, fun, and just wicked times on that game. So one thing that really knocks me in CX are the amount of Call of Duty titles and the amount of FIFAs. There were definitely more Call of Duty titles in this particular store than there were FIFAs, but it's just like such a waste, and I think there's just far too many Call of Duties. I've gone right off it, but hey ho, we got to talk about this now. 8-Bit Invaders, £8. This game came out in 2017, and I only know that because I actually stood in the store and googled it. I was going to buy it as part of the challenge, but I didn't bother. It kind of looked like an isometric, really dorky little shooter that I probably wouldn't have got into. It may have suited my nephew more than me. I thought it might have been one of those games that really tapped into the retro gamer in me, hence, the kind of 8-bit title, but it just looked pretty. I didn't really kind of pick up on anything decent from the screenshots or what I read that would actually reel me in. So I left it there, but I wanted to show it, and I really wanted to mention it to you guys because it might be something that you're interested in, or it might be something that your kind of relations, your kind of kids or your nephews or nieces are into. So bear that in mind. 8-Bit Invaders, there's a little tip for you. In this episode as well, we're also going to bounce back to the game room, and I'm going to show you exactly what I picked up in terms of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games. I'm pretty surprised. I wasn't going into this thinking that I was going to get anything close to the quality and value that I did. So I feel really motivated and I'm excited. Maybe I'll kind of try this in some cash converters as well. And I think the beauty of maybe doing an episode 2 in this is that we could branch out. We don't necessarily have to stick with CEX. We could try it in game, which would probably be a little bit more difficult because their prices are a little bit higher, even on the pre-owned stuff. But who knows? Let's see what we get. So one thing that I want to kind of point out, I've only seen a couple of PS4 games in this hunt that were just compatible with PSVR. I'm really glad we didn't fall into that kind of trap with the Knack. So the Knack seemed to become redundant before it ever became famous, and I was kind of expecting that with the PSVR, but fortunately the PSVR's had a bigger shelf life, but the game library doesn't seem to be too over encumbered with tat, so you don't see that much of around cluttering the shelves like you do with lots of different Knack games. But I think at this point I just wanted to kind of make that point. Here I think I'd picked everything, and I asked the guy behind the till this question, and after that I'm going to show you what retro stock they had in before we get to the game room. Here, random question, what is the cheapest PS4 game CEX stock? Like, is it like about £4? Well, that's £3.50.
I'm going to guess FIFA 53.
Aside from FIFA, what would you say?
And Destiny.
And Destiny, what's that, £2?
Exactly.
Yeah, right. So there we go. Aside from FIFA, Destiny is the cheapest current gen video game CEX stock, and it's only £2. Every day's a school day. And you know, retro stuff right here, some good stuff. Maybe a little bit pricey. GameCube right there for £50. Ridge Racer £10. Probably a little bit top heavy. I think Ridge Racers should be more around the kind of £5 range, but nonetheless, I'm showing you guys everything because here we cut no corners, and that's why you guys need to subscribe. But yeah, we're going to take a look at the outer window, and then we're going to warp back to the delightful Lady Lounge and check out what gaming goodness we've got. So not bad at all. There were so many games that I could have kind of had different combinations to put together a really nice bundle to bring home. And I did consider selling the games and recycling them back into this particular playlist, this being the £10 kind of challenge episode 1. But these games I don't own, so I'm gonna keep these ones. But what I might do, if this video gets to 500 likes, I will do another £10 current gen game episode, and I'll sell the games and we'll recycle it and we'll see how much money we can make, because people have been suggesting that to me so much in the comments, and I think it's a really good idea to recycle back into the playlist. So 500 likes, we'll do an episode 2 of the £10 game challenge current gen, and we'll sell the games on with a view to put this back into the playlist and see how far we can go. Space Invaders are falling all around. So what did I get? Picked up, I cheated a little bit, don't be mad. This was difficult, but I love these games. So, Knack on the PS4, a launch title, a very quirky launch title exclusive to the PlayStation 4 hardware. £4 for Knack, and I actually remember that the earlier PS4 games came with the kind of little instruction sheet of what the controls are, and I remember playing this at a pre-launch party down at my local game. It's now closed, and this was one of the games that you could play, and I didn't like it back then, but I thought I'd dive back into it again as we're about to leave this generation, and PS5 is upon us. I'll be streaming it right here tonight, the showcase. So I just thought I'd kind of dip back into a beloved PS4 launch title for only £4. So we've got £4 on the clock. Okay, next up then, which one shall I show you next? I'm going to show you this. Prey on the Xbox One. Now, like I said, I went into this particular challenge wanting to do just PS4, but I really want to try this on my Xbox One X. And yes, arguably, we can have an unlimited and an amazing amount of games with Game Pass, but here we like our physical media, not digital. I don't mind digital, but we like physical media. So I have this on the PS4 and I absolutely loved it. And I am a lover of the kind of cross-gen games, and I want to try this on my 4K Xbox One X. I know I've played it on my PS4 Pro, but you know, maybe I can just, for my own piece of geeky mind, just check out what the subtle differences are. So that right there takes us up to £7.50. Now here's where you're probably going to kick me, because unfortunately the challenge went over. I spent £1 over. I know, I could not find a game that I didn't own for less than £2.50. But you did see some footage of me talking to a guy, and the cheapest PS4 game aside from FIFA is Destiny, which I already own. So I picked up Killzone Shadowfall on the PS4, which again, I don't own any of these. So for me, it was a lovely surprise, a pleasant surprise at how much money you can get, how many games you can get for such a small amount of money if you really put your heart and soul and your mind into it. Now again, there were multiple combinations, like I've said, that I could have had, so I would love to do another episode, but it's going to be over to you. You're going to decide the fate of the £10 game challenge for current gen. 500 likes on this video will tell me that that is what you want. So make sure you share it, put it on your social media, get your friends to leave a like, and hopefully we can turn this into something magical going forward. So let me know what you think about those 3 games. I am really stoked, and if you're new here and like really awesome, consistent out and about content, please hit that subscribe button. And I just want to bring many thanks to all my new viewers that have come in and everyone that follows on social media. You guys are awesome, and we do have some great conversation. I can't reply to everybody, but I do read every comment on my YouTube channel, and I do my best to answer back where possible. We'll leave it there, guys. Have a beautiful day. My name is Gemma. I'll catch you in the next one, or if you're watching this, we've already had the PS5 showcase. So my future self will now know what the PS5 costs and when it's out. How exciting! See you soon.